What is the short man's complex? Also known as the Napoleon Complex, it is a way of describing a man, shorter in physical stature, who has an ego that is trying to make up for his physical limitations. We get this colloquial term from the famous French general himself, none other than Napoleon Bonaparte. It seems that history has a way of latching onto things and adding pieces to legacies that may not be the most flattering. In this video, we will be looking at the real Napoleon Complex. What sparked this derogation of the man that stuck to him and gave him a descriptor that may have hit the mark, but not in the way you would think? Is there truth to this? Was he a short man trying to act tall? Or was the truth a bit more complex, as is usually the case? We will look at a slew of quotes by the French general himself to guide our way. So let's jump in head first. It has been established that Napoleon Bonaparte was actually of average height for the times he lived. He was not on the short side, but was not an imposing figure by any means. We can see that these attributions, along with historical literature, can come from the victors of wars, and this has been the case throughout human history, with everything from history books to religious texts. Napoleon himself even said, "History is a set of lies agreed upon." This is shocking irony, given how this man would be depicted in centuries to come. It is important, though, to establish truths, because it seems Napoleon was given this stature by British propaganda, showing him as a tiny general in comical cartoons, which is commonplace, as can be seen with anything from Nazi propaganda to Victorian-era pamphlets. So if he was not short, then why did this stick? I believe it is in the mind of the man himself and his actions. The short man's complex implies that one tries to compensate for shortcomings by taking a fierce, ego-driven attitude that believes they are meant to rule on top of others, showing strength while hiding obvious insecurities. So if Napoleon Bonaparte was not short for his day, then it was his words and his behavior that made the attribution stick. And on this channel, that is what we specialize in looking at. So let's dive in and look at some quotes by the man himself that could give away the air of tiny superiority. Napoleon Bonaparte was a French military leader and emperor who rose to prominence during the French Revolution and became one of the most influential figures in world history. Born in 1769 on the island of Corsica, he rapidly climbed the military ranks due to his strategic brilliance and leadership skills. In 1804, he declared himself Emperor of the French and led a series of successful military campaigns across Europe, expanding the French Empire significantly. He is famous today for his role in shaping modern European politics, law, and warfare, most notably through the Napoleonic Code, which influenced legal systems around the world. Despite his eventual defeat and exile, Napoleon's legacy endures due to his impact on military strategy, governance, and European history. We must start with, "I can no longer obey. I have tasted command, and I cannot give it up." These words by Napoleon don't bode well for his defense, because it is a tenet of the Napoleon complex that these personalities crave power over other people. It is like anything else in life, that our insecurities only show themselves through our most confident words. These are honest words, and convey the message that speaks for so many who come into power. He is not alone in these sentiments, because as we see through history, whether short or tall, men love to subjugate others. It seems it is evolutionary at this point, like a troop of chimpanzees giving supplicating gestures to the dominant male. Another quote that drives these notions home is, "Power is my mistress. I have worked too hard at her conquest to allow anyone to take her away from me." It is interesting that he views power as a mistress and not as the love of his life, like a wife. So this makes me see it as a sordid affair, that his relationship with power is one kept in the shadows, one literally used to fill certain physical and psychological needs. In following this line of thinking, I found words by the man that will shed even more light on this. "The leading lady of the world is she who makes the most children." This quote speaks volumes on Napoleon's views on women and their place in society, but this is quite normal for patriarchal societies like France was under his rule. This is why in today's America, when I hear anyone say the patriarchy, I think to myself, please take a time machine back and truly witness what the patriarchy looked like, because in today's world, men like Napoleon would be indecent to say the least. This is why we look so deeply at a person's words, because we can see they reveal everything about the mind and actions of the character. Napoleon also said, "I love power, but it is as an artist that I love it." I love it as a musician loves his violin to draw out its sounds and chords and harmonies. We can see a downright love affair this man had with power. It was his life, his love, and you can tell he coveted it more than anything else. This is not uncommon among men throughout the ages. Even today, what is touted and being thought of as a man is success, being able to lord your control over others. Whether that comes in the form of your newest sports car or your run for city office, most men believe that they have to achieve some measure of power in order to be thought of as a true red-blooded man. Even though most men today could not hold a candle to the male of just 2 generations ago, as far as true strength and holding frame go, a certain high comes over a man who can lord direction over others, especially over other strong men. It is a drug, and we can see that men who attain this type of power, in most cases, have to die to give it up. So these words are nothing unusual for short men and tall alike. To me, it all comes back to personality. If a person has a complex or has been wronged during their youth, then they will seek to rectify these injustices in their adulthood by any means necessary, even subconsciously. So being able to order the deaths of men stronger than yourself is the ultimate stroking of one's ego, regardless of their height. Napoleon said to do all that one is able to do is to be a man. To do all that one would like to do is to be a god. This quote reveals so much about what I believe about men in power throughout history. There are those of us that can keep our desires in check, keeping a lid on our most debaucherous selves. But when a man is given control over the lives of others, then our darker angels tend to rear their heads. It takes one hell of a controlled individual to have total power and not use it to fulfill the testosterone-filled dreams of a man's mind. We see this throughout the spectrum of history, where there are leaders representing both ends. From Caligula of Rome, with his wild, raunchy orgies, living a life of unequivocal excess, to Marcus Aurelius, who famously had a man whose sole job was to follow him on his daily affairs and whisper in his ear that he is only a man. In modern times, this has faded, as the absolute monarch and emperor has met its match with social media and a globalized world. But we can still see hints of this popping up with the so-called leaders of the world today, who prioritize their egos over the well-being of the people. Men are more easily governed through their vices than through their virtues. This is another quote by Napoleon that cemented that even though ego-driven, as most men in power are, he did have a good grasp on the nature of men, coming with some very insightful words. To me, this means that our flaws and black eyes tend to control us more than our great qualities. We tend to focus on our shortcomings, no pun intended, but it is obvious that no matter how well a person does in life, they will always be slaves to their insecurities, as we see heightened with these eccentric leaders. Seemingly, men are easily controlled by their weaknesses, so this is the reason why there are so many charismatic leaders who are so adept at taking advantage of gullible men. They are phenomenal at finding the most flawed individuals, but not completely broken, because then they can lord their doubts over their heads while making use of their virtuous qualities. So what can we learn from the words of the legendary short general himself? We can see that most men, especially men in power, are highly driven by ego and ambition. I mean, normal, average, everyday men succumb to these notions in their daily mundane lives, whether in the workplace with co-workers or in their own relationships. Napoleon said, "France has more need of me than I have need of France." This quote proves my point, that this man believes he is more than the country he is defending. Most people who fight for their country always put it first. They never put themselves above. It is always the motherland that should come first, and usually when one signs up to die, it is because they believe in a cause greater than themselves. But in some cases, the man's ambition turns into the cause and fuels his fire. To believe that his country needs him at all is a bold notion, and one driven by pure ego, because if not him, someone else will take his place. It is the idea of men like this that they believe they are the only ones fit for the job, and without them the tower crumbles. It shows flat out that he is not fighting for his country. He is not putting his life on the line to protect his motherland. No, he is doing this for the vaunted laurels the situation could bring him. It made me include a quote that has stereotyped French people for centuries. The French complain of everything and always. These quotes unfortunately show that this man was in no way, shape, or form motivated by allegiance to his country or his people. We can almost see he despises the bourgeoisie for their small-minded, petty nature. This shows a lot about his upbringing and personality, because this is akin to someone becoming a doctor for the clout, and not because they want to save people. Have you ever seen this? You see a doctor who could care less if you were dying. You can just tell it was the money that motivated this situation. So, from all of this, we can easily see that it was not Napoleon's physical stature that did him in, but his enormous ego and the pursuit of proving his worth to a country of people he was apparently annoyed by. That is what the Napoleon Complex truly means. It is not necessarily a short man who is insecure, trying to make up for shorter limbs. It can be anyone, of any height, who leads life with a quiet insecurity, masked in the form of ego and control, trying to make it right in their own heads that they are of worthwhile stock. Bottom line, it is not shortness of stature, it is a small-minded nature that leads to wanting to exert some type of control over life situations, and unfortunately, that most of the time includes other people. So know your mind, control your impulses, or you will be subject to your own defeat at Waterloo. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, if you are over 6 foot, but your ego, lack of control, and compounded insecurities makes you 5'2", remember these words by Napoleon. When small men attempt great enterprises, they always end by reducing them to the level of their mediocrity. I think he thought he was a giant.